So what we're trying to do here is really an empirical proof of this whole what we talked about with Verena and in the Alps. So the subject here is a Hotel Kühberg. Verena, you mentioned it. It is a 14 months project supported by the EU. We have the mission to transition an already sustainable hotel into a fully regenerative ecosystem. And the method we chose is not about focusing on the hardware, maybe solar panels or whatever. These are all important. And you might have the question later on, what's the relationship of regeneration and sustainability? We can dive into that, of course, later on as well. But we were focusing entirely on the software of that system, shifting mindsets, organizational culture, human relationships, rather than just installing new hardware or green technology. So that is basically the CrossReTour pilot project that we were doing. And again, for the understanding, if we translate that paradigm shift that I gave you in the beginning to frame this session, we have the same story here in tourism. We have an old paradigm about minimizing damage, focusing on operational efficiency, transactional guest stays, tourism as escaping to everyday life. That's kind of the old framing that we're having. The new paradigm, the regenerative paradigm, is really actively renewing and strengthening a system, focusing purely on systemic vitality. Are the people in that system vital? Can we foster vitality of the team, of the guests, of the suppliers, of the whole region, of the biosphere? It's about relational, deep experiences. And it's about tourism as a space for genuine connection. So resonance. So this is basically the the old and the new paradigm that we followed on this journey. And if you understand the hotel as an ecosystem, then success is no longer measured by internal metrics. It's really measured by the health of the entire network. That's a shift in our mind. When I was working as a sustainability consultant, my tools, my methodology was so different to the tools and methodology I'm using now. And it took me, and also with a discussion with Nicole, it took us so long to understand, okay, how can we approach that in a different methodology? And you see it in a moment. So the expanded view is taking nature totally as an active part, participating and as a stakeholder. So we were sitting in a boat together with nature. And the quality of a system health is decisive. So the quality of the guest experience is a direct expression of the healthy internal and external system dynamics. That's why we ultimately had to start with a team. Only when the team feels that we could explore the whole system. And of course, in regeneration, it's all about local community. So designing encounters, creating active spaces where resonance and connection can, can occur naturally. This is this is what the theory is all about. And Nicole, I would love to hand over to you because you came up with that beautiful framing. I think I felt totally aligned with that, but maybe you want to say something about that framework we are using here. Oh, but I can do it as well. Don't worry.
Now, 1 second. Now I'm in. Yeah. So this is what we developed in during that project, just to like give you an understanding. It's like if we want to change something in our ecosystem, we need to be aware of ourselves and our values and how we react and what capacities we have inside ourselves. So for us, it always starts with I. That's somehow the starting point of the journey. So it's me as an individual, strengthening my own awareness, my own resilience, and also my self efficiency at a personal level. So if I know what my strengths are, if I know myself pretty good, then I can turn myself to others, and then so it's me we, as an organization, as a team, as a hotel team, building a living and a learning team culture rooted in psychological safety and co-creation. So if we feel safe in a team, we can start to develop good ideas, we can start to share wild ideas, and then this is the point where we can really start to develop ideas to change the system we are in. But before we can do that, we need to know ourselves pretty good and to understand what my strengths are. And so from the we spread our word and our energy, and we go to all, which is the ecosystem we are in. So Kühberg is part of the ecosystem of Oberstdorf. Oberstdorf is part of the ecosystem of Allgäu, and we are also parts not only in the hotel team but also parts of families, of friendships. So that's what we mean by all. So it's the ecosystem we as individuals live in, and strengthening there the local network and the regional value creation and the integration in the communities we are living in. And from that we spread even wider. So this is the outer circle of it. So from we, all, everything, which means the impact we are leaving in. It's like the ultimate ripple effect resonates, carried back into the daily lives of guests and staff, and permanently influencing their ecosystem. So if guests are having a good week at the Kühberg Hotel and experience that, planetary health diet really feels good to me, and see examples of regenerative behavior. It influences them, and they take these influences back home and start hopefully to inspire their ecosystem. So that's what we trying to say. It's always we, all, everything.
Thanks, Nicole.
Mm.
And in a way, this is what we are in. Regeneration is about nested systems in nested systems. So we are systems and systems and systems. And so it's yourself, it's your team, it's your village, city, it's your region. It's then, in this case, Germany, it's then Europe, it's then the world. So we are always having nested systems and nested systems. That's what regeneration is all about. If you transfer it to nature, it's a biosphere concept. You have bioregions, and these bioregions are determined by the wind, by the roots, by the soil, and so you have certain bioregions, and they are connected. And then you have bioregions with bioregions, and that's the same concept transformed into tourism. So then, basically, and this is what we are diving into with you today, it's an inner work of transformation. So regeneration begins inside. So the staff are the ultimate lever for change. So we had two core elements here. One was a reflection workshop, which I and we. It's focusing on psychological safety, self-awareness, and we're showing this in a minute. And we asked Verena to share her experience. And the step two was a co-creation workshops. It's we and all. It was more about collaborative mapping of the hotel's ecosystem and authoring the new vision and the values. The buy-in is co-created. It's never commanded. So it's for us, it's always offering a space to listen as supporters, as facilitators. We are never experts. We are facilitators of a process. And we are looking at what this system is saying and where this system wants to move into. What is the highest potential of this system to become alive? That's the mindset shift that takes place. So let's now talk about some practical things. We talked a lot about the theory. So what you see here is one of the methodologies we used, one of the methods, one of the tools. And maybe after some words of introduction, I hand over to Verena to share what happened here. So basically, this method is constellation work. It's a systematic approach. It's a system approach, a system thinking approach of displaying, of mirroring how the team relates to each other. So it's not about one owner or one boss talking to one employee. It's about every employee is on the table and mirrors with creative material how everything is related to each other. So it's like a forest. You look at the forest and say, okay, here this tree relates to this root and this is connected to. So we are mirroring the connections of everyone in the team to each other. Verena, might want to say something about this. It looks like a little bit like kindergarten, but it's deep psychology work.
Yeah, and sometimes it's quite good to go on that base to do a little, yeah, either a little game or to just creating things like a child would do that. So it was a very interesting and very funny experience. Well, we are as well, of course, a small team, and my husband is 100% operative working in the kitchen, so he's responsible for the whole F&B area, and his main work is really day by day in the kitchen. So together with all the other teams, my work is basically, of course, a lot of administrative things, the all the back office work, but of course as well operative in front desk reservations and restaurant. And the whole team is kind of a family. So we don't have a lot of levels. We don't have um, um, we don't have a lot of structures. So we have basically two persons who are mainly responsible for the breakfast and the evening service, and everybody around is taking some responsibilities. And at that moment, we were trying to rebuild our system, our team on the paper, and my husband had the idea to build kind of the rings of Olympia, and we are all connected to each other, but we saw quite soon that the two rings on the right and left side are not really connected. And so in that case, it was the kitchen and the housekeeping. So we said, okay, they know each other, but they don't have any connection when they work. And this the same was with these little people staying around. We saw here there is one person just above, so this should be me. And I have the whole surrounding, and I will see every team, but especially kitchen and service, or the morning's breakfast service and the afternoon service sometimes doesn't even meet, and that makes some challenges, of course, as well. And like that, we realized maybe we need to find a, a closer circle so that really the whole team is connected, especially in our journey with the regenerative process, so that really as well the housekeeping team will get involved a little bit better, that we get any connections from breakfast to evening service, and the communication can not only be spoiled by the front desk. So maybe there is another point where we can share the informations and the surrounding. Maybe we see that in any other picture again.
Ah,
Um,
oh no, I don't have another one.
but the surrounding is basically our family. It's my parents and our daughter. Um, just looking at the hotel, being kind of involved. Sometimes, of course, it makes it difficult to have the senior chefs in the house, but sometimes it's a very worth thing to have, especially for the younger staff members. But we're reflecting as well how our team is seeing the situation, the family situation, and this was a very interesting process.
And that's where you see the difference also with a systemic or system approach. You don't only look at the team, you look at the places beyond. Also on the picture, it's not there. There is a lake, the nearby the lake on the hotel premises, which was also mirrored as part of the system approach. Nature was really being integrated into this way of evaluating how this whole place is happening. And what's the beauty of it was, Nicole, you mentioned it last time, is that we found a language that is not so much about talking. Sometimes you have challenges in hotels that you have people from different countries with different languages, and if you rely on things like that, where you build creative materials and these materials show the relationship, it's easier to to come over these language barriers, which are sometimes very challenging. It's very challenging to form a team in such a hotel team. And this is another example. I can go with that, but Nicole, you're also invited to maybe share something about this experience.
Yeah, I mean, as you already said, that this hotel team had still has different cultural backgrounds, and also they not everyone is not perfectly in German. So we try to find methods that everybody can participate in. So also, if you don't have the exactly words to experience or to express what you feel, just try to use different methods. Just try to be creative. And over that, I think what we did is we designed a identity mandala, with all the team together, just to see like how the picture can be. So we did not write only post-its where you put words on, but we created, we co-created, a visual, a picture, and from that everybody could look on it and just express what they see. So yeah, this is also, I think, which is important to keep in mind, that sometimes if you also have people who are more introverted, who are not used to speak up, or who are not used to use post-its, as we do sometimes from our background, just to try to use methods that everybody can be part of and can participate in.
And here also the listening skills come in, because what you're trying to do as facilitators of such a process, you are creating room for discussions among the team. And what we did basically is we listened, we asked questions, we had this mandala, and based on that questions, we then listened and listened and listened, and then we wrote down the language, the words, the quotes, and based on that, we designed the vision and the mission and that served now Verena and the whole team to understand what they want to stand for, because it's ultimately about the why, about the purpose, about the connection to a place. So we often, you might know this Simon Sinek, this golden circles, that we are often jumping into the what and not the how and the why. And here we are very, very much in the core circle of the why, and listening really very closely what this mandala is all about. And based on that, we designed this mission.
Yes, maybe, sorry, there is
Yeah.
one question in the chat. Maybe I
Oh,
can answer on
please.
that
Yeah.
right away, because it's just how we close the barrier between the housekeeping or kitchen, for example. Um, we we found out the main problem the team had, that our housekeeping team is changing quite a lot, because we are working with Argentinian girls and guys who's having just a work and travel visa. So they are only allowed to stay half a year or 1 year. And so we had quite a changing team. And this made it really difficult for the rest of the team to get the connection to the people there. It was not even the language; it was more that they really came and left quite soon, and the kitchen had only the connection when we had lunch together. So basically, they don't have any work doing together, but we made one team. We are always doing at least once a year a day for the whole team, and in that point we really made it on the basis to how can you connect, where are some points where your work comes together. But one thing I really realized, now we have two girls, they really like to stay a longer period, and now they are already connected to the rest of the team. So I think sometimes it's as well that if you don't have a lot of changes with the staff, they will connect to each other anyhow. And if there are some points they have to do together, it makes it much easier. As well, I have one mini chopper in the housekeeping team, and sorry, in the kitchen team, and he was asking if he can work a few days sometimes as well in the housekeeping, and this was a very nice connection too. So we had him now working in both departments, and like that we got a very great connection too. And with breakfast and evening, we are doing monthly meetings with these two main staff leaders, so the two persons, so that we're gonna meet at least once a month, where we bring all our work together. At the moment, they are main responsible to have a look at the suppliers and making lists where are our suppliers now, and like that they're gonna see each other always around noontime. One is staying longer, the other person is coming a bit earlier, and then we're gonna try to make the connection like that, because the main things like leaving notes and making a little book where they can write down what happened. Um, this works a few weeks, and afterwards, it's they don't think about it, and they want to talk to each other. That's the main point. They really want to connect in person and not only on a book. And that's one thing I really learned in that process too. I hope I answered that question. Otherwise, please ask again.
No, actually, that was very good. That was you answered very nice. Now I was thinking basically also that could be you were mentioning trying to switch groups or teams. That's also a thing that it's nice for both the employees and also the company, like having people mentoring or trying a day in a different department, so they are better aware of what's going on the other departments, so they can also be proactive later on, and they can eventually change or be used in different positions. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely you answered very good. Thanks.
Yeah, but that's we really were talking about these meetings a lot, because it's a bit of a challenge in a small team, that we really get these daily meetings. Even if we have the daily meeting in the evening before evening service starts, there it's a good point. And I do my meetings with the front desk, or when they change their shifts. But with the whole team, it's really difficult in the daily business to bring all of them together. And we are really working on the process, still working on it, that we make it practical in this smaller team. In a bigger one, it's much easier, but when we only have 9 main responsible persons and the rest is like working on just a few hours a week, it's making it more challenging.
But Julian, you really touched upon the most challenging aspect of that system work and regeneration as a team. because this is we can make it visible with this constellation work, but then the question is, how do we align, do we move forward? We had, for example, another hotel where we work with the technical person who manages all the technical things. He was really at the side circle out of the whole system. And then was a 1 hour discussion with him how he can be part of the system again. So we designed an app where everyone put in the information so he could then connect to everyone in a more efficient way. But every once a week they met together as a team, and he said, okay, great, this worked like this. And so we are creating lever points for vitality. Another point was, for example, the shifts handover protocols, because you have this shifting handover protocols every day. And it was mostly critical. The person who leaves wants to leave fast, and maybe at the night shift, and the person who comes has a very relaxing time. But then it's really always minimizing the vitality, because it's talking 5 minutes about all the things that went wrong in the night. So we redesigned the shifts, like, let's talk about 5 minutes about positive things and then about the negative things. So it's about finding these lever points in the systemic work, and increasing the vitality and the flow of the whole system. So very good question, because I think, Verena, this was one of the biggest challenges in this whole project, really, that we identified to move forward to how do we connect the team? How do we increase vitality of the team? Okay, let's continue a bit. I think I won't dive into the mission statement and the vision statement. I think we can share that afterwards, because it's really the words that we got from the team and how this could look like, and we mirrored it back to the team. But let's come to the second layer now. The second layer, because the inner layer is myself, and then the second layer is team. But then you have the next layer, which is the region. And what we did here is something that is quite similar to sustainable work. What you see on the left side is an ecosystem mapping. But what we do here is we ask, what is the vitality of that relationship? How does that ecosystem player, what you see on the left side, these are all ecosystem player of the region. How can the ecosystem player of the region help in the mission and vision of this hotel to become more alive and become more regenerative system? So here we have the system players, and then we moved, for example, to different system players and asked them, okay, how could you become part of that? And Verena, you might want to dive into one of these meetings here with a local bakery, which is now a new ecosystem player in your system to make your system more alive and more regenerative.
Yeah, we always worked with suppliers from the region as long as possible, and we are in the lucky situation that we still have bakeries around, which are family owned quite long, and we got delivered as well from one from the neighbor village, and we just realized for ourselves that the philosophy of the bakery is not really on the same level that we are thinking, especially with the quality, with the products they're gonna use, and we didn't feel a good relationship anymore, and then we tried as well to rethink our offer, especially at the breakfast service. And our guests always told us it's so amazing to have a real bread in the morning, because when in their areas they live, they don't have a good quality of bread. They only have these self-serving bakeries sometimes. The bakeries, the family-owned ones, are not even there anymore. And so they really enjoyed having good bread and enjoying that. They even gonna buy it the same with the cheese. So it is always bread, cheese, and honey, for example. So we were thinking as well, why don't we just offer mainly bread in the morning and not based on the rolls where we can't really do a lot of it afterwards. And so that's why we went to the Holzofen bakery, and their mindset is on the same level. So it was a really great meeting, and I just met Christian. He's on the right side next to me on the photo, in a political base, and I asked him, well, maybe work together. And of course, again, a challenge. He's not delivering it, so we had to find a way how we can pick up in the morning all the stuff. And with the bread, it makes it much easier because we don't need to get it every day. And he told us as well, if there is something he can't really do with his bakery, he's working with other bakeries and suppliers together. And this was a very nice idea. And that's why we changed and working together now in a really good base. And the guests really loving this fresh bread. And even if they are rolls, that's hand rolls and not the ones which are already redone. So it's a different way of quality. The ingredients are way different to the ones we had before. So that's, was a really a great change. And not only on the product, as well on the relationship.
And you might ask yourself, what is the difference between sustainability and regeneration here? Because it sounds quite like supply chain management in a sustainable way. But the difference is in sustainability logic, you're rating your suppliers, and then you say, okay, this is a better one. But sometimes you're diving into it. But here the question was really, what values bring us alive together? How can we support each other for this region? How can we strengthen the region? How can we maybe also make a like a cooking session for your guests, like a baking of bread session for your guests, for your employees? So thinking much beyond, how can we support each other once we are on the same level to really move into the logic of regeneration. I don't like the word logic of regeneration, but into the spirit of regeneration. And then to sum up, and I'm making it very short now because we're running out of time a bit. And but there was a last session because now you are in the region. What we then did is we invited the ecosystem player of the region to come up to us in that hotel and say, okay, we shared everything. We shared the whole story as we do with you now. And then we asked the system players, and Verena, you might say who it was. On this day, we had 12 different ecosystem players from the village of Oberstdorf, and we invited them. How would that way of thinking differently, like really opening, sharing, transparent, being ambassadors for the region, thinking regeneratively, thinking as ecosystem players, how would it change your job if you would align with that values that we are living here now? And that was an inspiring final event. And my feeling is we just started the spirit, but it was a very inspiring, very special day for Nicole and me. So, Verena, how was it from your perspective? Who was there on that table?
Well, first we tried to get a bigger group at our main place, the tourism in Oberstdorf, but I think they were not ready yet to get impulse from outside. And so we made a smaller group, but still there have been employees from Oberstdorf. They are coming from the tourism sector, but as well from the government sector, the energy sector. And this was very interesting because some of them, they really try to bring Oberstdorf as a village, as a place to live forward. We had as well one person she's at the moment supporting tourism Oberstdorf to make a future project we started as well last year to bring Oberstdorf to a next level. We had as well a person who's a sustainability manager in a hotel and resort concern who's just responsible to have a look at the different hotels they have in their team to see what they can change. They have a completely different system in the hotel. It's more based for it's like a hostel, for example, and so it was a very nice impression how they saw our project, and we were already connecting at that morning, and were finding as well in between that group different projects where we can work together. They even connected between each other, and I think that's the main point, to start really bringing these relationships together, and then it can really go from maybe our place downwards to the village and then forward.
And here you also see the difference between a very conventional way of thinking of competition, because Verena, you invited other hotels to become part of that. And in a way, it's very, very personal, very private what we did there. And because we shared the whole story as we did with you today, with all the challenges, with all the beauty, but also the challenges. And Nicole and me, for example, did the same with all other coaches and consultants in the German market, because we say, well, this is not about us. In a former business, we would say, well, this is unique. We have done it for 14 months. We have this wisdom. We don't share it because it's a competitive edge. But it's just the opposite. We are here, we share it because we believe that we all have a wisdom and we can only co-create it together and frame it in that sense. And that's why we are very open also with everyone to share that. Okay, this was basically it, and I don't want to go into detail more because I really feel like we should have a reflection round, a question round. But just a last two slides to sum it up. It's really, the goal is really resonance here. So it's about the activation curve. It's really, we want to activate people, increase the vitality before, during, and after the stay. And we really feel like we have the saying in Germany, erlauben statt urlauben, which means really to allow to get in resonance with that whole system, to nurture your values, to increase your vitality, to have different offerings also in the off season. Verena might talk about off season ideas, how you can increase that. So it's really about that, about this activation curve, about being in resonance for this new way of paradigm that we talked about at the beginning. And this is the last slide. We felt that the hotels are catalysts. So for us, this 40 months CrossReTour pilot proves that hotel possesses this unique superpower. They could be laboratories for societal transformation. By shifting from sustainability to regeneration, they move from minimizing footprints to really ripples of vitality, resilience, deep connection throughout the hotel entire regional ecosystem. And that's what we loved so much, and that's what we wanted to share with you at this moment. And that's why I'm stopping the recording right now.